Hello and welcome back to the Tin Barn. I'm Pragmatic Lee, and in today's video we're going to do a bit of a follow-up to a video I did a couple weeks ago. In that video you saw me drill some additional holes in my drill press work plate here, and also get it where I could mount one of these Harbor Freight clamps. If you recall, in that video I only had one clamp that I had been using on my anvil, and I've had a chance to go back to Harbor Freight since that video, pick up a couple more of these clamps, and I want to show you what I alluded to a little bit in that video. This is the original, or this is one of the new clamps. I've got it screwed in all the way. Remember, this works like a pair of vice grips. Half a pair of vice grips. As you can see in there, there's a pretty good gap in between in that. The thinnest material that this will clamp down on is a 1/8 inch, 125 thousandths, and it really doesn't clamp that tight on it. I can move it around. The purpose of the clamps, of course, was to prevent the workpiece from augering up on the drill bit, especially soft material like copper, brass, aluminum, that kind of thing. So I made a modification to one of the clamps. What I did was make this leg, or this foot here, a little bit bigger. This only has about 1/8 of an inch thickness on that, and I went up to 3/8 of an inch. Now here's a piece of 25 gauge material. Clamps down without any issue at all. And here's a piece of even 30 gauge material. 30 gauge, let's see, according to my chart, is about 12 thousandths. And of course it would still twist. But that's what the purpose of those work stops were, that it could twist up against that. So what we're going to do in today's video, I'm going to demonstrate how I made this larger foot here. But before I do that, some of you may have already noticed, the legs here on this table are longer now. I had 1-inch legs on that. But again, as you recall in that video, I pointed out that I had probably another foot of lift, at least 8 to 12 inches of lift in the head on that drill press. So what I did was make some new legs. These are 2 inches up. And I made these legs off camera, well, not really off camera. I recorded segments of it, and we're going to put them together right quick here in the video in a short little insert into this video to show you how I did these legs. The first thing I did was face off the end of this workpiece. Next thing I did was part off at as pretty close to 2 inches as I could measure. Next thing I did was take each piece to the surface grinder, and the vise on the surface grinder, I used a V-block in it to hold the piece such that I was sure it was vertical and perpendicular to the magnetic chuck. I surfaced one end of each of the 4 pieces. After getting a perpendicular flat surface on one end of each piece, I gained the four of them together on the mag chuck. I used a magnetic transfer block at the end of them just to help prevent any kick out of the work pieces. So I placed the four of them gained together on the mag chuck and ground them all to length. The length of the four pieces was not as critical as them being the same length. So that was the purpose of gaining the four of them together and surface grinding them all to the exact same length. Then I come back to the lathe and we're going to chamfer each end of the four pieces. And finally, we drilled and tapped one end of each of the four pieces for, let's see, a 5/16, 8/18 socket head cap screw that goes through each of the corners. Okay, now let's turn back to the lathe and make a foot for this clamp that again will not reach the table. Make a foot for it like this one we made for this one. Alright, the material I'm going to be using to make this foot is just a piece of mystery material I've got around here. I think last time I used a piece of this was in the video where I made the step for the tractor. But it's real nice material. It's not even a nominal size. I believe that was like 890 thousandths diameter. But we're going to start out facing the end of it. The total length of our foot is going to be 1 inch long. So I'm going to set that up there, zero out the z-axis, and come in just a little over an inch. I'm going to come about, I don't know, 1.2 inches. That'll give me enough room to part it off. Just put me a witness mark. Alright, now we're going to turn this entire length down to 709 thousandths. Now the reason such an odd number, I'd like it to be close to the same size as the foot that come on there. And that seemed to be 11/16 was too small, 12/16, 3/4 was a little bit too big. So that size we're going to turn it down to 18 millimeter, which is 709 thousandths. So first thing we're going to do is just clean it up enough that we can get a good measurement. And the diameter of this, again, is not really critical, but I do want it to be a nominal size to fit into a collet. And an 18 millimeter seems to be a good size. All right, so that's 0.871, and we're looking for 0.709. So that's 162 thousandths to go on there. All right, that's throwing some pretty hot chips back here. I'm going to get my shield set up and I'll bring you guys right back. Okay, now let's just be sure that fits over an 18 millimeter. And I need to take just a little more off of it. Yeah, that's going to fit in there just fine. Now our step down, let's see, it should still be at 0. It is. All right, and we want to come in 600 thousandths on this, on the step down. I'll give myself just another little witness mark, and we're going to bring this down to 550 thousandths. All right, that's 100 thousandths needed to go. Now we're going to put a step down between this large diameter and the small diameter. And to do that, I'm just going to use an insert. Let's go with a little bit larger angle. I want to put one more witness mark on this just to make it a little simpler when we get over to the mill. That's still 0 right there. Let's come in half that distance at 300 thousandths and put just a little witness mark there. That is where the hole for the pin will be. All right, I think we're ready to part off now. Be sure I got the right edge. Yeah, this edge is zeroed out. Come into 100 thousandths. I'm sorry, come into 1 inch. All right, let's part this off now. Put this under there in hopes it'll catch our piece instead of it falling down into the drink. That piece is a little bit warm, but let's put it in and face off that tit off the little tit off the end here, which will actually be the foot that sets down and compressors our piece, work piece. Alright, now I want to get this end right here mounted into the 18mm collet. And then I'll meet you over at the mill and we'll put our hole through it, and also cut our slot in it. Okay, I have the workpiece mounted in a collet, in a square collet block. And I've already got it centered on the y-axis. I used, of course, an edge finder and centered on the y-axis. Now, you remember that little witness mark we put in here at 300 thousandths? Well, all I'm going to do now is line up my bit. And we're going to be drilling a 5/32 hole through this and using a 5/32 spring pin to attach it to the clamp. Alright, I'm going to take the drill chuck out now. I'm going to be installing a 3/8 collet in. And we're going to be using a 7/32 end mill. That's just a little larger than the width of the jaw on the clamp. Now we want to stand our workpiece up in the mill vise now, and we want to turn it 90 degrees so that our end mill slot is perpendicular with the hole we just drilled. Alright, we're gonna slot this the full 600 thousandths down. We just want to be sure we got plenty of room for that jaw to pivot in this foot. And I'm telling you folks, I'm going to take this a little bit at a time. Seems like I don't have good luck with these smaller end mills. I have a tendency to get in a hurry and break them. This should be our last pass. Alright, we've got our slot through our foot now. I'm going to carry this over to the Scotch-Brite wheel, deburr this, and then meet you back over at the workbench. And we'll see if we can't get it installed. Okay, before we can put the new foot on, we obviously got to get the old one off, the original one off. So let's see if we can grind that rivet out. Now I think we're ready to clean up, or I need to clean up a little burr on this. Then we're ready to install the new one. To install the new foot on, I'm going to be using this 5/32 by, let's see, by 5/8 roll pin. That's just a little bit longer than the new foot is wide, but it'll be fine. I mean, it's going to be like a 32nd hanging off of each end. Before I put that pin in though, I took the drill bit and just inserted it through there just to be sure the slot was deep enough and that everything was going to clear. Now I'm going to use my vice grips just to hold this a little bit, and we're going to install the taper pin, roll pin, in the first half. Now it's been asked before, question, if you've got a 5/32 roll pin or a 1/4 inch roll pin or 3/16, whatever size the roll pin is categorized as, that's what you're supposed to drill, because it is sprung out a little bit in its natural state. So drill the size that it's categorized as, and then when you press it in there, it'll be a good tight fit. Got to get it lined up. There's the new foot installed. Let's see how it works over on the drill press table. Okay, this is the old clamp that I did off camera. And if there was any concern about you losing some of my clamping height, this is a 1, 2, 3 block up on the 3-inch end. And I can still clamp it. I've got enough room out here running this out to clamp 3 inches. I don't imagine I'll ever be drilling anything more than 3 inches. All right, but here's our new clamp. And with the taller feet that I have on the table now, I'm actually able to use these rings, locking rings that came with the clamps. And I'm actually able to reach in there with my hand and not have to use the wrench. All right, let's find a thin piece again. This is that tray, another tray I made off camera, practicing my folding skills. And this is duck material. It's only 30 gauge. And that clamps that down good. If we needed to now, we can use 2 clamps, or I've got 2 made up. So the piece is now secured in there. No chance of it augering up. All right, this was a simple little project to one extent. But to another extent, it was kind of intricate. Of course, we did a little facing on here. We did some turning on 2 different diameters. Did a step between our 2 turns. Drilled through it. And then also put a slot in there. So I hope you got a little bit out of this. I'm going to show you a couple of pictures now of how I handled the situation with the pins in here. Remember, the pins keep the whole table from turning on the drill press. This is what it looked like before. Now I didn't have any material to make any longer pins out of. I thought at first these were 1/4 inch, but the more I look at it, the more I think they're probably a piece of drill rod that I got out of salvaging an old fax machine or possibly an old printer. But I didn't have any more of that diameter. So I simply raised the, or made some spacers to raise the bracket up that holds these pins. Then I mounted the, with some longer bolts, mounted the plate back over on top of these spacers. Okay, again, I hope you've enjoyed this video, maybe got a little bit out of it. You guys take care, and I'll see you on the next one.